toss right to questions.
Okay.
All right, we'll begin with questions for Coach. We'll start right over here to our left.
Ben Belcher with the California Post. We've been hearing all season long, Coach T, the mental conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Can you take us through her impact? And I know you've had, kind of psychologists work with the team before, but how has this been different, and how has she impacted the team? And what is it about her that makes her such a valuable mentor for these young ladies?
Coach Tasha, I worked with her when I was at UC Santa Barbara too, and she's just always been a brilliant teacher. She has a gift. She has a gift to connect, and she just is a phenomenal teacher. So we had several through the times. Joshua Medcalf, who's flying in for the game, he was for the first 7 years our director of mental conditioning. Then we had Colin Henderson, Trevor Moab. We had some various people contribute in that. But through that period of time, Tasha was learning from them, and she really had a passion for it. Excuse me. So she was just taking copious notes. She was doing all this off-season reading. And then we got to a point where the players were like, we want Coach T to take this on. And the reason they said it, they loved everybody that had taught us, but they said, Coach T is so passionate about it, and she's here every day. And so that was a real turning point, and it really came from the players' request, that they thought that was the best way to go, and they really noticed that she had really mastered her craft in that way.
We'll stay right behind with the LA Times. Raise your hand. Oh, I thought you had a question. Okay, there we go. We'll go.
Hi, Cori. Jeff Metcalf, Sports East. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your players and the South Carolina, the older players, say they've seen a lot of progress since 2021 in terms of treatment at the tournament, facilities improvements, the things that were lagging back, 4 years ago.
Right.
Do you see that as well? What do you attribute that to? And how do you think Phoenix is doing as a first-time host?
I'm thrilled. Obviously, we need more West Coast cities, not just talking about because I'm a West Coast school, because of the good of the game. We need to have exposure of our great game into a variety of West Coast cities. I think that just brings parity. It grows the enthusiasm of the game, TV, viewership, all those connecting points. And so I'm thrilled that Phoenix has done this. I think they've done a great job. And, it's interesting. Dawn and I both worked during the time after the bubble when the gender equity things came to a head. Her and I were on a call every week together, trying to attack some of these things together. Coach Auriemma actually was on that call as well. Tara Vanderveer was on that call. I don't know why I was on the call, but they just let me. And to work together and to see some of this progress, obviously what they've done at South Carolina in terms of attendance, in terms of capturing the hearts of their community, has just been unmatched. They're a standard bearer in that way. And, we really, have wanted to be that kind of program on the West Coast. And so, but you need the standards of the championships to reflect what we're all trying to do on our individual campuses. And it's been really rewarding to actually partner with Dawn to help that grow. And I think she's been spectacular at it.
We'll come up to the front and our right.
Hey, Coach. David Yapkowitz from the 9 Sports. We've talked all season about how Lauren's gotten better at reading the defense, being able to pass out of the post. But what have you seen from the rest of the group as far as how they've kind of continued to learn how to pick their spots playing off of her?
I think that, Lauren would be the first to say that that's the biggest difference from last year to this year, is that everybody's understanding how they can contribute. We're not all just standing around staring at Lauren. And I think that we didn't do that as well offensively in our semifinal game against Texas, but over the course of the season, that's been a real intentional area of focus, is that everybody understands sort of what their value add is, and we want them to feel confident to hunt for that. At the same time, understanding that the more it's about playing through the paint, not just playing through Lauren, and having that attack mindset. But that's been one of the things that's been really fun for me to watch grow, is all the other people understanding how much value they add, whether it be defensively or offensively, but they have their own things to be really proud of.
We can go to Doug.
Hey, Coach. Doug Feinberg, the AP. Dawn was very complimentary of what you've done at UCLA the last couple of years. I asked her about her first time in the championship game in 2017, and she said that the biggest thing she exhaled after getting there and then went on to win it in hopes that you guys don't have the same success in your first one. But just what have you been able to do in the last, 20 hours to get ready for tomorrow? And what are you expecting, another rugby match tomorrow? Or are we going to have a more of an aesthetically pleasing game?
I hope so. I really hope we have a more aesthetically pleasing game. Actually, Joshua Medcalf, who I referred to earlier, texted me last night and said, I never thought I'd say that the NBA games that I'm watching are called tighter than the semifinals of women's college basketball. It's not an easy job. I don't at all claim to say that I know the solutions, but I do think we all want the same thing. The officiating, the coaches, the players, we all want the same thing. We want to be able to have a very stylistic game that shows off the progress of the game, that continues to grow the game nationally to people who are tuning in. We just got to figure out where that gap is and how we can close it. I think the last 20 hours is a matter of just nonstop prep. We both programs have so much respect for each other. We've played each other the last 2 out of 3 years. Who can be their best when their best is needed, who can execute to their identity on a more consistent basis. But we've been very businesslike. We were not jumping around in the locker room. We were not celebrating. We have really come to this tournament very focused, and we really believe that the job wasn't done yet, and we want to have a chance to compete for a national championship, and we want to do that at the highest of levels. So I definitely don't think there was a sigh of like, thank goodness we made that next step. We want to compete to win.
We'll stay to the center, Andrea.
Andrea Adelson with ESPN. As a follow-up to that, Cori, this is your first national championship game appearance. Last year was the first Final Four. Is there more pressure involved with a first Final Four as a number one overall seed, or first national championship game appearance?
I definitely think last year actually felt like, because we were reacting to everything, not anticipating. Whereas now that we have been a part of this, it just was a totally different planning experience. Everything was, I just felt like we were able to be more strategic in how we put our players in positions to be successful. And I think they were able to anticipate, like, okay, I heard the returners saying, now this is going to be a long day. This is what you have to bring. This is what you have to do. And I just think that makes all the difference in the world.
Hi, Coach. Charlotte Moore, FI 360 News. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know we talked throughout the season about, you had mentioned about your standard. The standard right now is two women are playing, two women coaches in the championship game. Not to make this a battle of the sexes, but they did beat two men coaches. How has that...
You said it, not me.
How has that grown, though, far as women head coaches in this game, and what do you think that narrative will be coming out of this Final Four?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's just, we love great basketball, and give Coach Auriemma and Coach Vic Schaefer their kudos in what they have done to set bars of excellence in the game. So that being said, I think both Dawn and I feel a sense of pride that we are able to, continue to represent women that can coach at the highest levels to promote our game. I think both Dawn and I really see this as something bigger than ourselves. And that's an honor. That's an honor to be a part of that. And we want part of the legacy that I know. I don't want to speak for her, but I do think she feels the same way, is that we want to have really made an impact on growing the game for a long time to come, and to inspire that women can stay in this game, and that we don't lose women coaches. We need to promote more women at the grassroots levels to be coaching and getting involved in youth sports. So there's just a lot of things that go into that, and I think that there's something to be said about, if you can see it, you think you can achieve it, right? And I think that it's an honor to be a small part of that.
We'll shift to our left in the front.
Dimitri Dorlis, the mighty Bruin. Coach Staley talked earlier about the importance of Raven Johnson, who's been in her program all 5 years. And you have a couple players, Gabriela Jaquez and Kiki Rice, who've spent their entire college career with you. Can you speak to the importance of, like, not just their growth, but also the importance to your program and what they've meant to you?
They're the hub of the wheel. That, from when Gabs, made it very clear that I think she was 8 years old. She wrote on that piece of paper that she was going to go to UCLA someday. And she has played with that kind of gratitude and passion for all 4 years. And Kiki Rice, at that time was the highest ranked player that we had ever signed. And for her to have the belief that we could do something really special, and then to have the fortitude to stick with it all the way through. And the real powerful thing is that so many of our players that came after came because Kiki Rice was here. They wanted to play with her. And so both of them deserve so much credit for the position that we're in. I am so grateful to them. Commitment is a really hard thing. We have a phrase actually that Coach Shannon, when she was here, she said, it is your commitments, not your feelings, that will determine your destiny. And that is very true for Kiki Rice and Gabriela Jaquez, that their commitments have led them to this point. And I am so thankful for those.
We'll take our next question from Marissa. If you can raise your hand, we can get the microphone to you.
Hi, Cori, Marissa and Jemmy, LA Times. I'm curious, looking back to last year when you were in this spot or the game before, how do you feel like you've kind of grown as a coach since that moment? Is there an area you look at that you feel more prepared for now, or how would you evaluate that?
Yeah, I think there was a lot. I think that every time you hit a roadblock or a failure sometime where you felt like you weren't your best version of yourself, you have to do a bunch of things. You got to ask truth tellers in your leadership life to go, hey, what do you see in here? Where are my blind spots? And, where do we fall short? And then I have a responsibility to, make strategic changes that reflect that I really heard those things or saw those things. And so, there's tactical things, there's leadership things, there's, how we structured our practices, things that we needed to address. And so I just hope that every year, whether it's getting embarrassed at a Final Four or whatever. I had a situation at the beginning of this tournament that I had to go to a player and ask for their forgiveness. I screwed up. And I just think that's how you grow as a leader, and how you earn credibility with your players is you don't think you have it all together all the time. And I think when you're able to do that, you actually experience the most growth. And so, it's never fun in the moment. It sure wasn't fun to be exposed in some of the ways that we were exposed, and I'm ultimately responsible. But I am thankful for the growth that has stemmed from that.
I'm going to stay to our right, gentlemen, if you could raise your hand.
Mike Regalado, Bruin 24/7. Coach, you always talk about the women that have built this program that have come before you, but have you thought about your place in the history of UCLA women's basketball?
Not for a second. I really, it just is not it's not my why, it's not my purpose. Where I get my joy is watching the players do things that hopefully you're a part of something that maybe they couldn't have done on their own, and you got to facilitate that. But honestly, I coach for purpose and for an audience of one.
We'll take our next question from Cassandra and then Michael Vopel. Cassandra, you can raise your hand just a little bit higher for us. Thank you.
Cassandra Negley, Yahoo Sports. Women's sports is often lost to history or completely ignored. I know you've talked about that AIAW team, but I'm wondering your thoughts on the fact that you just being here kind of sheds a spotlight on that team that maybe wouldn't be there.
Yeah, I think that's been really fun. I was listening to Gabriella talk about them, and I think it was last night. I can't remember when, sometime. And I thought it's really cool. She gets it, that every time we get said as the first and the only, and we don't say anything to correct that. It's sort of like this jab at that team. And so it's an opportunity for us to bring that light to them and to say, we see you, we appreciate you. You're a part of why we're here. Several of the women on that team are in the building here. They're season ticket holders of ours. And, it's a hard situation because there's semantics of what was, the NCAA acknowledged. This is the NCAA YMCA era, but I just don't want it to diminish what they did. And I want them to always feel that we acknowledge them, we see them, and we honor them.
We'll take our next question from Michael.
Hi, Coach Close. I want to ask you maybe about two moments or situations that that sort of I feel like we're defining in your program over the last few years. One is 2022 was a tough year, but you guys made that decision to go ahead and play in the WNIT, even though it was mostly seniors. I think Angela might have been your only player that's still with you from then. But making that decision to go ahead and play that game in that sort of challenging year, and then that tough loss to USC in 2024 in double overtime, Lauren said that game helped in terms of end-of-game strategy, that they've carried that with them. I just wonder if you could maybe talk about those two things.
I think you have to learn how to win, and each group is a little bit different. I remember even back before that, I don't know how the years are running together a little bit, but when Jordan Canada's first year, that was the #1 recruiting class, I had way overscheduled. We missed the tournament, but we played in the WNIT at that time. And I thought it was very instrumental in building our toughness and learning how to win. And, those are just steps. And then same in that, the one you referred to. I just think that every situation is you got to learn what is my responsibility of placing the brick that we have in the perfect position. We're not just trying to build a wall. We're trying to place the brick that we have in the present moment in the best possible way we can. And I think participating in that tournament was part of learning how to place that brick for that season of our development in the right place. That's been really, really huge. And I've always thought we were pretty intentional and good in special situations or in-game situations. And that year, we failed. We lost 3 games in-game situations that I have to take responsibility for as a coach. I did not do a good enough job putting them in positions to be successful. And so that offseason, we made a real commitment to them that we were going to be better for them, and we were going to be really intentional about how we went about things. And we do special situations in our practices pretty much 15 minutes every single day ever since then. And I think our players have a new level of confidence in that area. But, like most things in life, when you get exposed and when you have to do things, you have to respond, and it forces you to maybe grow in a way that you might not have otherwise.
We're going to stay to our right.
Jack Magruder from Field Level Media, Coach. Talking about your competition against South Carolina recently, what do you recall most about the last time you played, and what do you think was so successful for you in those games?
Well, it was one of those games at home that we were really clicking on both sides of the ball. But I think really it starts with, and we had a great game Kiki's freshman year at South Carolina. It came down to the wire, and we ended up losing that game. But it was really a great game. I think that both teams, what I remember is the team that rebounds the best and defends the best down the stretch won both those games. And I've been on both sides of that. But I don't think it's probably going to be that different. I think it's going to be a possession game. Now, that wasn't the case against Texas, but that's how good our defense was, because they still got 21 more shots on the goal than we did. I don't think that we'll be able to do that against South Carolina, that if they get that many more shots on the goal, either because of rebounds or the turnover battle, that we'll be able to do that. But in both situations, the way I remember it is the team that was able to dictate with their defense and get enough stops and win the rebounding battle came out on top.
Staying to our right.
Hi, Coach. Ana Cabral with Mexican Media. I just wanted to ask you, we've all seen the growth. Congratulations on an amazing season.
Thank you.
What would you say the keys to the physical and mental preparations have been for your team to be ready for this moment? And what will you cherish more about your time with this group?
Well, I think that one of the things that I never have had to coach this group's work ethic. And it's just, I actually have to kick them out. Like, hey, there is no skill workouts today. Like, they will want those one-on-one things every single day if they could. And I think that, the mental probably at this point is more important than the physical. But leading up, it all has to be there, right? You have to have this really strong foundation of who you are physically, who you are tactically, and then who you are mentally and emotionally, and your connectivity. So I think this is the culmination, right? That it's sort of the byproduct of all the work that has gone into that. But I can't speak for South Carolina, but it is really important that we recover well, that we do as little on our feet as we can today. Recovery is everything, and most of the work is going to be mental at this point.
Going to shift to the front, Joe.
Joe Pachowski, the Mighty Bruin. Coach, you've spoken all season about the way the team's had a growth mindset. At this point in the season, with the final game of the season tomorrow, no matter what, is there still room for growth, or is it more about execution?
Both. I think you have to. You have to let each experience, each scouting report, each interaction teach you. If you're not, that's how we built it, is just a choice to intentionally grow every single day, every single time out, every single opportunity. It's one of our core values. So I don't think that ever stops. And we have to execute. We have to execute at a really high level. But I think every game is gonna present adversity and opportunities to pivot. We decided to change how we played ball screen coverage in a way that we didn't prepare for at all in the second half, in the fourth quarter of that game. The way that when they were bringing their 5 up to go in ball screen action with Rory Harmon, the game required us to make a pivot, to change strategies. And so, I just think there has to be a balance of both. How are we growing? How are we adjusting? And how do we strategize to have the best execution we possibly can?
To our right and center.
Hi, Coach. Jesse Morrison, Arizona Sports. First off, it's, when you think of UCLA, you think of success in basketball, but we were just talking about the 1978 AAW team. That was the last time the women won. 1995 was the last time the men won. Just what what would this mean to be able to bring this championship back to the fan base? And then secondly, just, how great has it been having Ann Myers-Drysdale kind of a presence with this team?
Yeah, it's just been spectacular to have Annie. I got a text from her last night. She has been there for us and with us since I got there. I've known Annie a long time, and she's never wavered in terms of what she's been to me as a young coach, all the way through to my being a head coach at UCLA, and I just am so grateful for that. I think what you said about bringing it back to the fan base and to really share it with the UCLA village that has supported us at every turn, that is probably the most meaningful part for me, is that to be able to contribute. You guys have heard me say several times that banners hang in gyms and rings collect dust, but who you become and who you impact, you get to keep forever. And I always want to stay focused on that, because I want to stay focused on being a coach that coaches things that last. But that being said, to have that opportunity would be really spectacular, because it gives me the opportunity to thank and connect to the village, the UCLA village that has buoyed us and helped us and supported us and been incredibly enthusiastic supporters. The chance to connect that with them would be an honor.
We're going to stay to our right, and Michael, if you can grab the mic.
Coach Michael Caratino, Sideline Sports. Drawing on situations and experiences is obviously huge, and I say that because obviously both teams have to. It's a timeline, it's a quick turnaround, and you have your scout, your assistant scout, and prep. But how big is it drawing on obviously like experiences like playing in the Big Ten tournament, and then even the early season matchups and the holiday stuff where it's 3 games in 3 days, and like you said, going through end game situations, whatever. But what's the biggest challenge in having a good scout and knowing maybe a lot of it will come into in-game adjustments?
Well, I think you got to be your best on all facets, right? I mean, and they have, they know us really well. We know them really well. It's going to be about players making plays. There's just, you have to have players that are willing to recognize and seize the opportunity to make a winning play that's probably not going to be on the scouting report. I mean, I think, that you try to, provide the best, structure and game plan you possibly can. And then you have to be just trusting of them that I want our team to feel empowered. I don't want them to feel like it has to come from us. And at the same time, I want to have their backs at every turn. So that's the fine line you're trying to find. But, I really do believe that guard play is everything in these kind of games. We've got great guards. They've got great guards. And, it's just going to be a matter of who executes their game plan and plays to their identity a little bit better.
We'll go all the way in the back, Coach.
Good afternoon, Coach. Terry Collins of TG Sports TV1. How does a head coach teach themselves and their staff to protect your own mental health and the wellness of your family as you navigate the rigors of the tournament and all of the sacrifices your family has to make?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. I am so grateful to the families of our staff members and coaches. They sacrifice a lot, and I think it's, we try to be really intentional about rest and really intentional about including families, and it's not an easy profession, to balance those things, and I don't even think it's a work-life balance. I sort of don't subscribe to that. I think it's how do you have healthy integration to both who you want to be as a family member as well as who you want to be in your profession, and how can I facilitate an environment where they don't feel like it's an either or? How do we create both ands? How do we create that their families feel a part of it? My parents actually were great examples of this when I was growing up, and I remember my dad was involved in an organization called Young Life, and he would do it on his own for a while after he was done teaching. He was a high school teacher as well, and when he first did it, I still remember this as a kid. It was I wouldn't say totally resentful, but it was really hard because he got to go off and do Young Life, and my mom was stuck with the burden of what was not happening at home because he was doing that. And then eventually my mom's like, you know what? I'm going to go do it with him. And now we're going to take our whole family and we're going to do this. And then it was a situation of integration, and it was something that we shared. And it was at hard work? Absolutely. Was there sacrifices? For sure. But it was something that we really enjoyed sharing together as a family. And I think I try imperfectly to try to think that same way for our staffs. Even though I don't have a family of my own, I really value that. And I don't want our staff members to have to choose. And so I'm constantly saying, hey, how can I help you with that? And how can I be better as a leader in that? Because I've seen it go wrong far too often.
We're going to go on Sean, then Lindsay.
Hi, Coach. Sean Hurd with ESPN's Andscape. You've been very complimentary of Dawn and her program. I'm just curious what's most impressed you about her tenure at South Carolina and her ability to get her teams in this position consistently.
I think what impresses me the most about what Dawn's done is obviously her sustained level of excellence on the court is just undeniable. She's been a standard bearer. I think I saw Holly Rowe talking about just her and Gino being the ones that, pretty much hold the beacon of where our sport is going, and has gone recently. And that's true. She's earned that. But I think the other part that I respect so much about Dawn is how much she cares for the people around her. And I'm really grateful for that, because actually someone I'm really close to is on our staff right now, Wendell Farrow, and I've seen it firsthand, and I care deeply. My mom teases us because he spends Christmas with me every year, and my mom's like, I couldn't get a word in edgewise. All you guys were doing is talking about basketball like a whole day, and but he has come back, and you're on the outside and you think you admire that, but when he comes and says, Dawn is just amazing, and how she cares for people, how she cares for the entire community. He was telling me stories about different things that she has sacrificially done for different groups of people that aren't even in their program. But outside of that, she's just really used her platform to be a lifestyle giver. And to me, that's really a spectacular combination, to have that level of sustained excellence and to make a difference in so many people's lives. Then you're doing things the right way.
Lindsay Gibbs with CBS Sports. Obviously, you were focused on your own game last night. I didn't know if you
had a chance to see what transpired at the end of the UConn-South Carolina game. And obviously you support Dawn Staley a lot if you've reached out to her at all.
We text a little bit last night, but very briefly. And, you know, I didn't actually, I told her in a couple weeks I'd love to know the real story. But, you know, I just think, I mean, those are two people, honestly, both Coach Auriemma and Dawn Staley, that have invested in me. I have had opportunities to grow in this profession because of the both of them. So I'm going to let that be between them, you know, but I will just say that, you know, so this is a really competitive environment and emotions are incredibly high, and this is a culminating event, and I know them to be really good people. And so I'm going to trust that when all the dust settles, that we just come back to that.
To our left, Coach.
Just to follow up on Delly real quick. Could you have imagined when you kind of reached out to him and shocked him with the video coordinator proposal that you'd be coaching against him in the NCAA championship?
No. And I was watching him in Sacramento because he's from Sacramento. We had 62 people come to be a part of his experience there. And then to be able to go to a Final Four, I'm really excited for him until tomorrow. And, you know, but, you know, honestly, he applied to be our administrative assistant back in, I think it was 2012. And we ended up going, you don't fit there, but you might be really good here. And she changed some of the ways we do things. The way we run our scout team is because of the way he transformed it. The way that we do certain things in terms of connecting with our players and celebrating some things are because of his stamp on our program. And, you know, I love who he is, and I love the way he knows how to connect and support diverse groups of people in such an incredibly genuine way. And I feel very lucky to be a part of his life. But I'm thrilled for him until tomorrow.
Hi, Coach. Alex Hernandez here with Arizona State University. With the current landscape of college athletics and how prominent the transfer portal is, what are some of the challenges that come with building continuity on a year-to-year basis?
Yeah. Great question. I mean, I'm in the midst of it, right? I have several transfers on my team now, but I'm also going to lose 6 seniors, and we're going to be very proactive in the transfer portal. We're probably going to sign 5 transfers. You know, I think you have to be a really good relationship builder and culture builder if you're going to have continuity within this environment. You have to be incredibly intentional about that. What does that look like all the way from the summer, all the way through? I think it has to be more than just chemistry on how you read screens. It has to do with I don't think you can have a committed team unless you have a connected team. And so really building that with a new group of people has to be really well planned out. And but I don't think it can't be done. I think it really can. And I would say that probably one of the biggest connectors on our team is Charlize Ledger-Walker, and she's only been here 2 years. And if you asked every player about who's one of the biggest people who's brought us to be a whole and not just individual parts, they would say her. So I think you can do it if everybody is aligned in the vision and they're willing to be known. That's hard. I mean, to be courageously vulnerable with each other and to grow, to sacrifice individually for something that you want collectively, you have to have the right people on your bus, but I do think it can be done.
And Coach, if we can look to our left, we're going to take our last question.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm Jose Bedelia from Pinal Central Media. Good afternoon, Coach Close. Your team is playing South Carolina for the title, aiming to win for the first time in the program's history. South Carolina's defense played aggressively and held UConn to just 9 points in the fourth quarter yesterday. When you watch South Carolina on film, what do you notice about their style of play? How do you prepare your team for the biggest game of the season?
Yeah, great question. I think that I actually was saying to our staff yesterday before the game that I thought UConn could struggle with South Carolina's length, the way in which they can, keep you from playing north and south, and they really made them UConn to go side to side, and didn't get a lot of paint productivity, didn't let them get 3-point shots off because they're so long, they're so versatile, they can switch so many screens, and I think that's the key is how do you move the angles? How do you use screening actions? How do you, make it so that it's not just a one-on-one long athletic battle, because they are so good on so many fronts. But how do you change their angles and really still play through the paint, given that they are really good at what they do?
Coach, want to thank you for your time today, and best of luck tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.